It was common knowledge in the capital that General Hatch was a formidable warrior. Yet, his daughter, Hatch Rui, was notoriously foolish, clinging to Prince Chu Yenning of the Chu family like a persistent burr. However, Chu Yenning was gentle by nature and doted on me even more than my own brother. As a child, I loved to pester him for stories and would often sneak my hand into his robe to snatch osmanthus candies. My father used to say that a Hatch family daughter was destined to be empress, but if his little Rui were content to be a princess consort, that wouldn't be bad either. All that mattered was that Chu Yenning treated me well. Later, for a female general from the borderlands, at my birthday feast, Chu Yenning severely injured the little dog he had given me as a child. I hugged the dog, hiding in the small garden, crying my eyes out. At that moment, Prince Ningzong, who had always frightened me, found me. He slowly knelt down, revealing an osmanthus candy in his palm. Both his voice and his appearance were cold. Eat. In my eyes, Chu Yenning was a gentle, refined gentleman, his demeanor like the bright moon and auspicious clouds. Besides my parents and brother, he was the kindest person to me. Yet today, at my 15th birthday feast, he brought another woman. I heard him call her, Ayu. I, as usual, cheerfully reached into his robe for osmanthus candy, but my hands met nothing. Chu Yenning had never forgotten to bring me candy. This time, he smiled gently and pushed me forward towards Ayu. This is General Hatch's youngest daughter, Hatch Rui. Ayu knelt down and gently stroked my head. Little Rui, happy birthday. I looked up and saw that Chu Yenning's gaze towards Ayu was even gentler than his gaze towards me. A flicker of jealousy arose in my heart, and displeased, I turned my head away from her hand. My father had always treated his subordinates with kindness, advocating for shared joy between the army and the people. Many officers from the barracks came to congratulate me at my birthday feast. Among them, Ayu was the most unique. She was unlike ordinary women, she disliked cosmetics and preferred wearing armor. She wielded a spear with remarkable skill, her hair neatly tied up, her demeanor clean and decisive. She was the only female general in my father's camp. I had heard my brother mention her name before. My brother said that though her background was ordinary, her ambition was heroic, no less than a man's, and his eyes were filled with admiration for her. That same admiration was now evident on Chu Yenning's face. At the birthday feast, I watched Chu Yenning attend to Ayu with solicitous care, my hands clutching the hem of my new dress until it was wrinkled. Even my favorite ice-cold pudding on the table no longer tasted good. Suddenly, I felt a dampness on the back of my hand. I looked down and saw Ah Tuan, the little dog, licking my hand with its tongue. It seemed to understand my sadness, letting out a soft whimper of comfort. Ah Tuan was a birthday gift from Chu Yenning when I was 10. From then on, whenever he visited, besides osmanthus candies for me, he would also bring bones and meat for Ah Tuan. But today, Ayu was by his side. My osmanthus candy was gone, and Ah Tuan's bones and meat were gone too. I hate Ayu, I whispered, leaning close to Ah Tuan. Go scare her. Ah Tuan understood. It let out a woof and darted out from under the table. Chu Yenning was at that moment serving Ayu a bowl of ice-cold pudding, both of them laughing and talking. Suddenly, Ah Tuan leaped onto the table, knocked over the porcelain bowl with its paw, bared its teeth, growling fiercely, and barked at Ayu. Ayu froze at first, then, upon seeing the dog clearly, shrieked, trembling as she huddled into Chu Yenning's arms. Chu Yenning, furious, grabbed Ah Tuan by the scruff of its neck and threw it violently to the ground. Ah Tuan landed with a thud, whimpered in pain, then quickly got up and limped away. At the same time, Chu Yenning glared angrily at me. That cold gaze held a warning and fury. I was stunned for a moment, then pouted stubbornly and turned away from the table to look for Ah Tuan. I found poor Ah Tuan in the small garden. It had no bones or meat to eat, and it had been violently thrown by Chu Yenning, so it felt wronged. I had no osmanthus candy to eat, and I had been glared at by Chu Yenning, so I also felt aggrieved. I hugged Ah Tuan, and both of us, human and dog, couldn't help but burst into tears. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the woods, followed by a few faint noises. A noble, cold face abruptly appeared before me. It was the current crown prince, Ningzong. He wore a dark robe embroidered with golden dragon patterns, his sword-like eyebrows sharp and cold, his pupils deep black. His handsome face, unchanged for over a decade, was endlessly cold. I had always been afraid of his icy demeanor since childhood, and couldn't help but take a step back. Ningzong looked at my ugly, tear-streaked face, his brows furrowing slightly. He paused, then, as if with some reluctance, slowly extended his hand. I was startled by the gesture, bowing my head and closing my eyes, curling myself into a ball. Eat. Ningzong's indifferent voice rang in my ears. I hesitantly opened my eyes and looked at the osmanthus candy in his palm. I was momentarily stunned, and after a long while, I couldn't resist reaching out to take it. Rui. Chu Yenning's voice, like cracking jade, suddenly sounded. He stood not far away, his gaze fixed on me and Ningzong. I hastily withdrew my hand. Chu Yenning walked over, bowing respectfully. This is the Crown Prince's first visit to the General's residence, specifically to celebrate Rui's birthday. Perhaps you're unfamiliar with the garden. It is Yenning's fault. Please allow Yenning to lead your highness to the feast. Ningzong calmly clasped his hands, the murderous aura around him seeming to thicken. No need to trouble the prince. I know the way myself. After Ningzong left, Chu Yenning bent down, his face showing a trace of belated apology. It's Yenning brother's fault. I forgot to bring you osmanthus candy today. Shall I go buy some immediately? Ah Yu has been afraid of dogs since childhood. Just now, Ah Tuan startled her, and I accidentally hurt Ah Tuan in my haste. Little Rui, please don't be angry anymore, okay? Chu Yenning gently stroked Ah Tuan's head. Ah Tuan, who never stayed angry for long, shivered its tiny body and immediately rubbed its head against his hand. I also, never stayed angry for long. Since Yenning brother had apologized, then I would still eat his osmanthus candy. I carefully clutched the hem of Chu Yenning's robe, shaking it gently. Rui also knows her mistake. I won't let Ah Tuan scare people again. Chu Yenning secretly sent a letter, saying that he wanted to take me to the lantern festival to pick out a carp-shaped lantern. I was overjoyed, running to beg my parents to let me go to the festival. My parents, unable to refuse, sent someone to the barracks to find a guard to accompany me. On the night of the lantern festival, I quickly ate dinner, returned to my room, happily changed into my newly made dress, and upon stepping out, saw Ayu in plain clothes waiting. I couldn't help but be stunned. Ayu's eyes shone like stars. She scrutinized me and then burst into clear laughter. This brocade dress embroidered with 100 butterflies truly makes our little Rui even more charming and beautiful. The compliment made me a little shy. My father often taught me that soldiers in the barracks fought for the country and toiled for the people. Hatch family descendants must never belittle or oppress them, nor act arrogantly. So I blushed and softly replied to her, indeed, everyone has praised my beauty since childhood. When I was young, my parents were often troubled by my lack of diligence in studies, yet also felt a little apologetic. Our Rui, born so beautiful, if only she were a little smarter, she would be one of the foremost noble ladies in Shangjing. So I had known my only advantage for a long time, I was born beautiful. Ah, you seemed surprised that I lacked humility. She paused slightly, then the corners of her lips curved into an even wider smile. On the street that night, people came and went, bustling and lively. On both sides of the road, all sorts of lanterns glowed brilliantly, their myriad shapes dazzling to the eyes. I looked left and right, my eyes sparkling, completely unaware that Chu Yenning and Ayu had approached me. Not until I had chosen an exquisite carp-shaped lantern and was joyfully about to turn around and call Chu Yenning to see it. Turning around, I saw only Chu Yenning and Ayu chatting and laughing, their steps moving further and further away. I stared blankly at their retreating figures. Chu Yenning had clearly said that tonight he would take me to choose a carp-shaped lantern, but now in his hand was the peony lantern that Ayu had fancied. My interest suddenly vanished, and I quietly put the lantern back in its place. In a blink, Chu Yanning and Ayu were swallowed by the bustling crowd. Lost and disoriented, I wandered around aimlessly, then suddenly bumped into someone. The person had a handsome and tall physique, wearing a dark robe, with a jade inkstone hanging from his belt, possessing an extraordinary aura. However, he wore an exquisite fox mask, clearly not wanting others to see his face. I softly apologized, leaning to leave, but was unexpectedly held back by his sleeve. From behind him, he took out a rabbit mask and held it out to me. I was surprised, pointing to myself, "For me?" He nodded slightly, still silent. My gaze swept over the mask in his hand. The edges were delicately embroidered with gold thread, the round face of the rabbit was lively and lifelike, more skillfully crafted than anything sold in the market. Seeing that I hadn't taken it, he gently shook it, as if the rabbit might come to life. A surge of joy suddenly filled my heart. I eagerly reached out and took it, turning it over and over, cherishing it, then happily put it on my head. "Thank you, young master." After thinking, I added in a small voice, "You truly are a good person." It was my first time leaving home, and I had a wonderful time. The man in the fox mask seemed to know all the interesting activities at the market. He first led me to the riverside to release lanterns, then we watched a magic show, and finally, he bought me a large bag of chestnut cakes when my stomach was rumbling with hunger. By the time it was the third watch of the night, my cheeks were puffed out, and I knocked on the main gate of the general's residence with the bag of cakes. The gatekeeper, upon opening the door, stared at me with wide eyes, then saw my lips stained with cake crumbs and immediately cried out. Miss, where on earth have you been?" The general and madam were frantic with worry. "They thought you'd been kidnapped and sent people to search for 2 hours." I hugged the remaining half bag of cakes tightly, intending to point in the direction of the person who had brought me back. But when I turned my head, the end of the alley was empty. Ayu was punished in the barracks for not guarding me properly. Upon hearing that I had returned to the residence, Chu Yanning rushed over early the next morning. The moment he saw me, he began scolding. "Why were you so mischievous? Why didn't you stay with us? Do you know that Ayu received 20 military floggings because of you? She can't even get out of bed. She's a woman, how can she endure that? I should have known better and left you at home. Now Ayu has suffered for nothing." I stood still, not understanding why Chu Yanning was angry with me. It was clear that they were the ones who had abandoned me last night. I was silent for a while, then pulled out the special ointment that Madame had ordered to be prepared and gave it to Chu Yanning. "This works very well, and it won't leave a scar. Take it to Ayu." Chu Yanning received it, stunned, his voice finally carrying a hint of belated apology. "Rui, I didn't bother to listen to the rest of his words, turning and returning to my room, happily admiring the rabbit mask. At noon, the gatekeeper brought me the bag of osmanthus candies that Chu Yanning had sent. I put one in my mouth. Images of Chu Yanning from last night suddenly appeared in my mind. The gentle smile on his lips, his eyes following Ayu, his hand holding the bright red peony lantern, getting further and further away from me. He had forgotten that he was supposed to pick out a lantern with me. He had also forgotten that I was always foolish and, going out for the first time, wouldn't remember the way home. This osmanthus candy today, I feared, was no longer fresh. It was sweet, but biting into it caused a painful, uncomfortable tightness in my heart, with a hint of bitterness. I had always hated bitter things. Half a month after the birthday feast, my father and mother began discussing my marriage. My mother, fearing I would get an upset stomach, ordered the kitchen to stop making ice-cold pudding altogether. I was originally planning to go inside and have a good cry, determined to demand a bowl of ice-cold pudding to satisfy my craving. But as I reached the door, I heard them arguing endlessly. Prince Chu is gentle and loves Rui the most. If Rui marries him, with this old woman here to support her, he wouldn't dare bully her. But, as long as the Hatch family army remains in his hands, how can His Majesty be at ease? Rui is the one he intends to make crown princess, how can you watch her marry someone else? Madam, do you not see? Rui is terribly afraid of the crown prince. The crown prince is solitary and eccentric, his whims unpredictable. Rui is foolish and slow, how can she endure a lifetime with him? I fear she will suffer endless grievances. General, my mother choked out, her voice filled with sobs. You have fought for half your life, already respected by the people and soldiers. But if the Hatch family army is not in His Majesty's hands, I fear it will bring disaster to the Hatch family. My father also choked up. Ah, you, that year you were pregnant with Rui and still followed me on campaign. If you hadn't been startled by the news of my ambush, why would you have had a difficult birth, harming our child? Our Rui would also have been as intelligent and sharp as her older brother. In this life, I have been true to the nation, to the ruler, to the soldiers and the common people. I only feel shame towards my daughter, Rui. Whether it's the crown prince or the prince, I only wish my Rui to be innocent and joyful, carefree her entire life. My parents' words made me feel an inexpressible discomfort in my heart. I suddenly no longer wanted to eat ice-cold pudding. So I went to the west courtyard to find my brother, begging him to take me out to play. My brother laughed heartily and immediately pulled me onto his horse. Let's go. I'll take you to the barracks, so the Hatch family army can see our little Rui. Along the way, I looked up and asked my brother, do you think it's good or not good for me to marry Yenning, brother? My brother, on horseback, laughed loudly. Every time you look at Prince Chu, it's like a kitten seeing honey, and Prince Chu always dotes on you endlessly. If father and mother want to marry you to him, wouldn't you be happy? I thought for a moment, then softly said, of course I'd be happy. If Yenning brother is also happy, then I will marry him. The wind whistled past my ears. After saying that, I remembered my mother's worries from earlier, and my heart suddenly felt heavy. Upon arriving at the Hatch family army barracks, my brother held the reins and helped me dismount, then bent down to gently brush the dust from my dress. Good Rui, you can wander around freely for a bit. Your brother will go find someone to pick some delicious fruits for you. I had been to the Hatch family barracks a few times, so I leisurely walked around by myself. After about half an incense stick, my gaze was suddenly drawn to two people talking in the distance. Ah, you. Ahead, a man in a green robe stood tall and proud, his voice containing a hint of impatience. I stopped dead in my tracks, looking at him and the majestic female general beside him. It was Chu Yenning and Ah Yu. Ah Yu, General Hatch intends to marry Rui to me, but you keep avoiding me. Do you know how much I've suffered these past few days? Ah Yu's expression was indifferent. Then congratulations, Prince, on getting what you wish for. Chu Yenning rushed, Ah Yu, why do you say that? Don't you know my heart for you? Prince, please respect yourself. General Hatch has given me a new life. If people knew of my entanglement with you, how could I face him? Ah Yu, Chu Yenning lowered his eyes in dejection, but the person I want to marry is you. My whole body trembled. Yenning brother, in his heart, didn't really want to marry me, did he? Chu Yenning. Ah Yu's face flushed with anger, as if insulted. If you truly want to marry me, then go tell your parents. Break off the engagement with the Hatch family, and openly marry me as princess consort. Don't stand here blathering useless words. But Chu Yenning's face showed panic. Rui has only ever known me since childhood. I truly can't bear to abandon her. Ah Yu, Rui is simple and innocent. She can tolerate me. She can endure a little grievance. After we marry, I will definitely find a way to elevate you to concubine. Rui, she will agree. Then we can treat her like a younger sister and take care of her. No. I recoiled a few steps in panic, my chest constricting as if someone was squeezing it. Chu Yenning was wrong. Although I was foolish and didn't fully understand matters of husband and wife, my mother had taught me that if there was true love, how could a couple tolerate a third person interfering? Just like my parents, no matter where my father went, only my mother was by his side. Chu Yenning. Do you truly not bear to, or do you not want to? If you are truly happy to marry me, why speak of not bearing to with others? Do you truly see through your own heart? Yu and Chu Yanning were still entangled in their argument, but I didn't dare to listen any longer, hastily turning and leaving. So Yanning brother didn't truly like me. Otherwise, why would he go to Yu and beg her to marry him? He agreed to the marriage with me simply because of that word, cannot bear to. Suddenly, someone ran to report to Ningzong, Your Highness, a den of white foxes has been discovered 10 miles ahead. 10 miles was deep within the hunting grounds, where the sound of arrows was constant. Ningzong dared not risk taking me deeper, so he left 2 guards to watch over me, instructing me to wait for him there. Ningzong's figure gradually faded into the distance. I lost interest in hunting and glumly found a place to sit. Less than an hour later, a strange commotion suddenly erupted from deeper within the hunting grounds, and a sense of unease filled my heart. Moments later, a blood-soaked guard rushed out. The crown prince has been ambushed. Send reinforcements immediately. A sharp arrow whistled through the air from the depths of the forest, piercing directly into the messenger's chest. He stared wide-eyed, collapsing to his knees, dying with his eyes open, shocking me into standing up. My mind went blank for a moment, then I tried to regain my composure and immediately ordered the 2 guards beside me, You, hurry back to the main camp for reinforcements. You, follow me to save the crown prince. As I bent down to pick up a quiver from the ground, the remaining guard behind me was struck by an arrow and fell. I turned around in a panic and saw, not far away, Chu Yanning holding a bow, his face stunned. Chu Yanning quickly approached and tightly gripped my hand. Rui, come with me, quickly. I stood motionless, looking directly into his eyes. Brother Yanning, the crown prince has been ambushed. Why aren't you helping him? Chu Yanning's face darkened. Rui, I cannot help him. The assassins in this hunting ground are all Prince Yu's men. I can only ensure your safety. Come with me. When Prince Yu ascends the throne, he will absolutely not spare you. Come with me, I only want you. In the future, I will not let you down again. He suddenly lowered his voice, pleading softly. I will definitely treat you well. No. I forcefully flung his hand away, glaring at him, my voice as cold as ice. You knew Prince Yu was plotting against the crown prince, why didn't you report it? And you came here to trick me into fleeing with you? My parents and brother are all in the hunting grounds. The Hatch family army is also here. How can we let Prince Yu run rampant? I have already married into the Eastern Palace, and I certainly cannot go with you. No Hatch family descendant has ever been unrighteous or treacherous. Chu Yanning's face turned ashen, and he took half a step back. Rui, Brother Yanning, you are unrighteous to your ruler, you are heartless to Miss Yu. I truly despise you. I decisively turned my back, leaving him standing there in a daze, and ran deeper into the forest. Ningzong had promised to catch a white fox only for me, so he surely wouldn't have gone too far. I carefully followed his path, clutching the signal arrow tightly in my hand, skillfully avoiding Prince Yu's search party. In this life, the little bit of cunning heaven had bestowed upon me seemed to be entirely used up at this moment. I quietly slipped through a thick bush when suddenly a hand reached out from behind me and pulled me forcefully inside. My whole body trembled, but as I fell into a warm embrace and smelled a familiar scent, I quickly turned and hugged the person tightly. Did you come looking for me? Ningzong's face was pale, his arm stained with blood, but his voice was still steady. From his wide sleeve, a small white fox poked its head out, letting out a faint whimper. Ningzong smiled slightly. From now on, it and I will be in the Eastern Palace to keep you company. You must smile more and not frown, missing your father, mother, and brother anymore. I stared blankly, tears suddenly streaming down my face. Yes. I once promised to be by your side. Hatch family descendants always keep their word. I quickly tore a strip from my skirt, clumsily bandaging his wound. Although it wasn't a neat bandage, at least it stopped the bleeding. Then I gently fired a signal arrow to mark our location for the Hatch family army. Less than an hour later, my brother, leading the military commandants, rushed over and carefully escorted Ning Zong and me out. "Your Highness, the assassins have been captured alive. Shall we interrogate them on the spot?" Ning Zong's face was colder than I had ever seen it. "I will interrogate them myself. Prince Yu has waited 5 years to make his move again. Today, he will surely not return." Half a month later, Prince Yu, for plotting against the crown prince, was arrested by imperial decree and stripped of his fiefdom. Prince Chu, for knowing and not reporting, should have been severely punished, but he voluntarily requested to join the Hatch family army on campaign to atone for his sins, and thus departed Shengjing with the Grand Army. The following year, Crown Princess Hatch Rui gave birth to a noble son. Crown Prince Ningzong was overjoyed, naming his son Yen, signifying peace throughout the land. On Yenner's 100th day, the Hatch family army returned victorious to the capital. Only Prince Chu Yenning voluntarily remained to guard the border. It was said that he lost the woman he loved most and never married, choosing to stay at the border, guarding the gates of Great Zhao in her stead, protecting the common people. The end. My father once taught me that in life, one should not force others, nor should one suffer in silence. My father also said that the Hatch family was the shield of Great Zhao, and every Hatch descendant must be loyal to the emperor and serve the nation. And the crown prince was the future ruler. They had pampered me since childhood, unwilling to let me suffer any hardship. However, that night, I understood my parents' words: if I refused to marry the crown prince, the Hatch family would surely face trouble. Because the emperor and crown prince would believe that the Hatch family was no longer wholeheartedly loyal to the ruler. When my brother brought me back to the residence, it was already dark. For some reason, his expression was also heavy and somber. He didn't say a word. I returned to my room, rummaged out the remaining bag of osmanthus candies, picked one, and put it in my mouth. It was so bitter. I grimaced tightly, my eyes welling up with tears. This osmanthus candy had gone bad. I didn't want to eat it anymore. At night, I gently knocked on my mother's door. "Mother, I want to marry the crown prince." The emperor issued an edict summoning my father to the palace. Before leaving, my father turned back several times to ask if I had thought it through. I nodded solemnly, only smiling as I said, "I want to go to the Eastern Palace. I heard there are many pastries to eat there, and the crown prince is said to be very handsome. I am willing to marry him." I had never lied before, this was the first time. I didn't want to make things difficult for Yenning brother, nor did I want the Hatch family to suffer grievances because of me. But I was also very afraid. The crown prince was so intelligent, and he looked so cold and stern. He would surely dislike a fool like me. The first time I met the crown prince was when my 6-year-old self was led by my father into the palace. The emperor, in high spirits, pulled my father away to play chess in the imperial garden, stuffing my robe full of pastries and instructing his servants to take me butterfly catching. While I was engrossed in chasing butterflies, I met Ningzong. He sat alone by the lake, his servants fearfully keeping their distance. His jade-like face was covered in cold sorrow. At that time, I thought someone like him must have just had all his pastries confiscated by his mother, just like me whenever I was mischievous. So I toddled over, laden with pastries, genuinely wanting to comfort him. "Brother, eat. You won't be sad anymore after you eat. Get out." His face suddenly turned icy cold, and he swept his sleeve, sending both me and my pastries sprawling. The pastries scattered everywhere, and I landed hard on my bottom. I stared blankly at the coldness in his eyes and the corners of his mouth, and immediately my face crumpled, and I wailed uncontrollably. My father and the emperor were alarmed and rushed over. Ningzong merely lowered his eyes to look at me, not saying a word. Later, I learned that that day was the death anniversary of his birth mother. But it didn't make me any less afraid of him. From then on, whenever I saw the crown prince, I would find a way to avoid him. On the day the emperor issued the edict of imperial marriage, Chu Yanning, who had always maintained proper etiquette, rushed to the general's residence in a frenzy, insisting on seeing my father and me. The gatekeeper held him back. "Prince, the general and madam have explicitly instructed that the young mistress is about to marry into the Eastern Palace. To avoid any unnecessary incidents, the general's residence will not receive male guests for now." His eyes were red, and he stood outside the gate, refusing to leave. My brother came out to meet him, saying coldly, "If the prince already has someone else in his heart, please do not delay my sister. Although she is innocent by nature, as long as the Hatch family exists for one more day, we will never let anyone threaten her." Chu Yanning opened his mouth slightly, but couldn't utter a single word. I secretly hid behind the house and watched him for a long time. Finally, I instructed a maid to deliver a message. The maid walked over, curtsied, and said softly, "The young mistress wishes to convey that the prince and Miss Ayu are of one heart. She wishes the prince to achieve his desires soon. From now on, she hopes the prince will not feel guilt because of her. She will strive to be a virtuous crown princess and live harmoniously with the crown prince." Chu Yanning's face suddenly turned as pale as paper, the corners of his lips trembling slightly. "No, it's not like that. The night before my wedding to the Eastern Palace, I sat in my chamber, silently stroking the rabbit mask in my hand, lost in thought. The image of the person in the fox mask kept appearing in my mind. I wondered if I would ever see him again. Since childhood, my parents had managed me very strictly, rarely allowing me out. That night of the Lantern Festival was the first time I was permitted to leave the residence. It was my first time releasing lanterns on the river, my first time watching a magical illusion show. That person's hand held mine in the crowd, slender and cool. In 15 years, I had never been as happy as I was that night. Afterwards, I feared there would be nothing left. The next morning, my mother personally came to comb my hair and apply my makeup. Her fingers gently stroked my hair, her eyes filled with tears. "Rui, when you enter the palace, you must remember not to be greedy with food, and don't argue with others. Also remember, it's no longer like before, someone who gives you food or smiles at you may not genuinely be kind to you." I listened, a little confused. Why, just because I was entering the Eastern Palace, would someone who gave me food or smiled at me no longer be genuinely kind? But to reassure my mother, I still nodded obediently. Rui remembers. When I donned the deep red wedding gown and the veil was placed over my head, the Eastern Palace's retinue arrived to welcome the bride. The wet nurse helped me into the bridal sedan chair. I heard the commotion outside the gate and couldn't help but feel my eyes sting. I had suppressed my fear for days, but at this moment, it finally seeped out, tears falling drop by drop. Suddenly, my brother's voice came from outside. "Chu Yanning, why are you here?" Chu Yanning's voice was hoarse, vaguely suppressed. "Rui, I watched her grow up. I have loved her for many years, I can be considered a half-brother. It shouldn't be out of line for me to come bid her farewell on her wedding day." My brother didn't reply, implicitly acknowledging his presence. I heard the sound of horse hooves approaching the sedan chair step by step. "Rui." Chu Yanning called softly, a mixture of complaint and lament. I quickly covered my ears, blocking out his next words, "Wait for me," from beyond the sedan curtains. The Eastern Palace. In the bridal chamber, red lanterns swayed. I had been enduring all day, and I was already trembling with hunger. The crown prince was taking a long time to arrive. I smelled the fragrant pastries on the table and couldn't help but wonder if I should secretly eat 2 pieces first. My hand just touched the veil when the door creaked softly and was pushed open. I hastily withdrew my hand, sitting upright and proper. A pair of black shoes with red soles slowly approached me. I couldn't help but tremble slightly. As the red ceremonial scepter lifted the veil, I gradually saw the face of the person before me, and I was involuntarily stunned. A deep red wedding robe, a jade inkstone at his waist, his slender hand lifting the veil, and on his face, it was the familiar fox mask. "It's you?" I cried out in surprise and joy, lunging forward, my trembling hand reaching to touch the mask. "Is it really you?" The mask was slowly removed, and Ningzong's noble, cold face came into clear view. I suddenly remembered this was Crown Prince Ningzong. My body instinctively recoiled slightly, my hand trying to withdraw, but Ningzong gripped it tightly. He tilted his head slightly, looking at my hand, and the corner of his mouth curved slightly. "What are you afraid of?" "That night of the Lantern Festival, didn't you have a lot of fun with me?" I stared at him in astonishment, my mind finally catching up. That night of the Lantern Festival, was it the Crown Prince? Was it Ningzong? He was the one who released lanterns with me on the river, he was the one who took me to see the magic show, bought me a large bag of pastries, and then escorted me back to the general's residence. That rabbit mask, he gave it to me too. My mind suddenly froze. We stood in awkward silence for a long time, then my stomach shamelessly rumbled. Ningzong's eyebrows raised slightly. He picked up a pastry from the table and put it in my mouth. "Eat. You can ask questions slowly once you're full. There's something I've owed you for many years. That afternoon, I didn't know it was you." "I'm sorry." Ningzong carried a jade tray of pastries and sat down next to me, his voice clear and pleasant, completely unlike the cold impression I had of him. "Which afternoon?" I mumbled, looking up, then suddenly realized. "Was it the day you knocked over all my pastries?" Ningzong's smile deepened. "Yes. After that, I always wanted to apologize, but you avoided me like the plague whenever you saw me." He paused, his gaze darkening slightly. "Furthermore, later you and Prince Chu became close, and he doted on you. I once thought, you would never agree to marry me." My hand holding the pastry froze, and I sighed softly. Brother Yanning has someone he likes. I don't want to make things difficult for him because of me. I only hope he can marry the person he truly wants. Ningzong chuckled softly. "He's foolish, but I'm not." I quickly shook my head. "Neither of you are foolish, I am. You are both brilliant talents." Then I timidly asked him, "So, you don't dislike me?" "I'm foolish and clumsy, and besides my passable looks, I have no good qualities. Do you not mind me being crown princess?" Ningzong was taken aback, then let out a wry, almost tearful laugh. "How could I dislike you? You are my crown princess. Whether you are foolish or not, beautiful or not, I will only accept you." I finally exhaled softly. As long as Ningzong didn't dislike me, then my days in the Eastern Palace would surely not be too difficult. Ningzong reached out and removed the elaborate phoenix crown from my head. My silky black hair cascaded down like a waterfall into his hands, causing him to momentarily freeze. Actually, I've always been waiting for you. From childhood, I knew that the Hatch family's youngest daughter would be my crown princess. A long, long time ago, I wished for you to grow up quickly, to come to my Eastern Palace, and to spend these long, drawn-out years with me. This Eastern Palace is too lonely. Since my mother queen passed away, it has been a very long time since anyone has been by my side. When I encountered assassins at the age of 12 and almost lost my life, I still only prayed for one thing. That when I saw you again, you would give me a piece of pastry." Ningzong's eyes were slightly red, revealing an immense sense of loneliness. My heart suddenly ached. He had lost his mother queen early, was alone in this cold Eastern Palace, and there were even those who wanted his life. Compared to him, I, pampered by my parents in the Hatch residence, protected by my brother, was truly 100 times happier. I couldn't help but lean over and gently embrace him in comfort. "Don't worry. Father once said that the Hatch family is the shield of Great Zhao, and you are the crown prince of Great Zhao. I am a daughter of the Hatch family, so naturally, I am also your shield. From now on, I and the Hatch family will protect you together." Ningzong smiled softly, tightening his grip on my hand. But I want you to be in this Eastern Palace, only my own sweet candy." He brought my hand to his cheek, sighing softly. "Loneliness is truly too bitter." I curved the corners of my lips and gently replied, "Okay. I have many, many sweet candies, and I'll share them all with you." The next day, Ningzong led me into the palace to pay respects to the emperor, the empress, and the Grand Empress Dowager. The Grand Empress Dowager was very fond of me, smiling kindly and waving me closer to sit, and even gave me peach blossom pastries to eat. My little Zongler has finally settled down. When will he give his imperial grandmother a great-grandchild to hold? I bit into a piece of peach blossom pastry, its sweet fragrance blended with powdered sugar melting in my mouth, so delicious that I just wanted to flatter the Grand Empress Dowager to earn her favor. Imperial grandmother, a great-grandchild, how is it born? I'll tell the Crown Prince to give you one, tomorrow, for you to play with. Ningzong froze, his face as black as the bottom of a pot, and he quickly clapped a hand over my mouth. Imperial grandmother, doesn't understand yet. I will teach her carefully when we return. Hopefully next year, for you to be pleased. The last few words, Ningzong ground out through gritted teeth. That night, Ningzong pressed me tightly onto the bed. He smiled softly, coaxing, the corners of his eyes slightly red and moist, unusually charming. Don't you want to know how a great-grandchild is born? Tonight, your husband will slowly teach you, alright? The clothing and food in the Eastern Palace were indeed much better than in the Hatch residence. Ningzong even specifically instructed the kitchen to prepare special dishes for me regularly. Half a year after entering the palace, my mother came to visit. The moment she saw me, she noticed I had grown noticeably plumper than when I was at the Hatch residence. She stared for a moment, then hugged me tightly, her voice choked with concern as she asked, are you happy living in the Eastern Palace? I nodded vigorously. Very happy. Although father and mother aren't by my side, the Crown Prince comes to me every day after court. The only thing that isn't so good is, at night he always likes to be on top of me. My mother's face flushed crimson, and she quickly clapped a hand over my mouth. You mustn't talk about things in the bedchamber with outsiders. A moment later, she sighed sadly. There's fighting on the border again. Next month, your father will have to go on campaign. This time, your brother and I will also have to go to the frontier. You'll be alone in Shangjing, mother. I thumped my chest in assurance. Mother, rest assured. I am also a daughter of the Hatch family. While father and brother are fighting outside, I will hold down the home front in Shangjing and wait for everyone to return safely. My mother left with lingering reluctance. I stood by the window, watching her figure gradually disappear, my gaze following the vermilion tiles of the Eastern Palace. An indescribable ache also filled my heart. Ningzong, returning from court, saw that the pastries on the table were mostly untouched. He smiled faintly and gently tapped my nose. What's wrong? Are you unhappy after seeing your mother? I thought for a moment, then seriously replied, Ningzong, I can't bear to be far from father, mother, and brother. It hurts my heart to see mother leave. But I also can't bear to be far from you. If I were to follow father and mother and leave you alone in the Eastern Palace, I would also be very sad. Ningzong silently sat down beside me and took out an exquisitely carved wooden doll from his sleeve. Its face was round and adorable, its eyes lively and very much like mine. Ningzong sighed softly, father has mother, and brother will also have a sister-in-law later. But I only have you. I happily caressed the doll, my earlier sadness vanishing completely. Hearing the hint of sadness in his voice, I quickly turned and embraced him, smiling brightly as I said, Don't worry, I will never leave you alone. The corners of Ningzong's eyes softened, revealing a smile like spring wind melting ice. I believe you. Next month there's an autumn hunt. I'll take you to hunt a white fox and bring it back to the Eastern Palace for you to play with, alright? Alright. This autumn hunt was an imperial banquet to send off the Hatch family army, even more solemn than previous years. On the hunting grounds that day, there were not only various princes and noble families, but also Prince Yu from his fiefdom, officers from the rank of commandant upwards, and even Chu Yanning, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, was there. The crown prince arrived at the hunting grounds in his ceremonial sedan chair. As soon as I stepped out of the carriage, I saw Chu Yanning's gaze fixed on me from several zhang away. I followed his gaze and looked back, meeting Chu Yenning's melancholic eyes. A flicker of light passed through their depths, then quickly darkened again. I heard that he ultimately did not pursue marrying Ayu. Ayu would be joining the Hatch family army on this campaign, and from this day forth, she and Chu Yenning would be separated. The reasons for their parting were known only to them, and it no longer concerned me. I averted my gaze and gently placed my hand in Ning Zong's. As the autumn sun peeked through, the Emperor's first arrow sliced through the wind and struck a wild boar. Immediately, a thunder of hooves erupted, and the cavalry behind him spurred their horses into the hunting grounds. In an instant, the whistling of arrows echoed throughout the valley. Ning Zong and I were the last to enter the hunting grounds. Today, his only clear objective was to capture a white fox to keep me company. Originally, female family members were not permitted to enter the hunting grounds, but I stubbornly refused to comply. I had practiced archery at home, and although clumsy, I had been bored for too long in the Eastern Palace and wanted to stretch my limbs. I stood at the edge of the hunting grounds practicing my draw, and inadvertently shot a few hares. Ning Zong, standing beside me, praised me effusively. I secretly smiled, unable to resist resting my hands on my hips proudly. Who says I'm not a daughter of the Hatch family?